This is Mia from MiMo Design Laser Files. I recently shared a tutorial on how to engrave glass, any type of diode laser. Today we are going to have some fun and we are going to add some gold to that engraving. There's a ton of ways to which you can achieve this effect. And I'll start by being honest and saying that the easiest thing might be rub and buff. I don't have it, but I dropped some links below in case you want to try it out. So rub and buff is this paste that you just rub in your engraving, and since it has this gold leaf inside, it will stick to the engraving and it will rub off everything else. So you will be left with a beautiful golden result. I have ordered some and I am waiting anxiously to test it out, but I'll show you how I made these one golden. This way is a little cheaper because I'll be using metallic acrylic paint, I'll be using a little brush, I'll be using a cloth, and this is optional, but I'll also be using this heating tool. You'll of course need a engraved piece of glass. This is a bad engraving that I did for a 400 wine glasses order, but this will work just fine to show you how to do this. I'll add in a piece of cardboard so it's a little easier for you to see the engraving here. Let's move these aside. And I'll place my glass. Once you have your glass, you take your acrylic paints. I'll just take off the lids and you dip your brush to the paint. Then you just go over the entire engraving like this, and you will have to do this a few times probably. So let's see. Wipe off as much excess paint you can by just carefully running your brush over. And now that you have this, you either let it dry or you use your heat gun. I'll use my heat gun because I discovered that it will kind of stick to the engraving better paint. Once it is dry, and mine is now, you can see how the paints kind of got stuck to the engraving and kind of faded everywhere else. You want to clean this, so now you want to take your glove. You can use isopropyl alcohol, but I actually found my isopropyl to be a little too good at the cleaning, so it also took off the paint from the engraving. Instead, I use some denatured alcohol. This is the same type of alcohol which I use to clean my mirrors on my 8-watt laser, or CO2 laser, sorry. So you just add some of this, and then you carefully, don't push, just carefully run it over the engraving. Once you have most of it, you can push around the engraving to clean up the glass. But make sure that you don't push hard when you are sliding over the actual engraving. And just kind of rub it in circles. So for now, let's add this one in again. And it's not totally clean, but as you might see, the gold kind of faded where I was a little too hard with my cloth here. So although it's not all clean, I will go in and I'll add one more layer of my gold paint. I'll just try and take my cloth, not with the alcohol ink side, but a dry piece of my cloth, and just carefully wipe it over. I'll then go in and add a little more gold. And this is where it would be easier to use the rub and buff. I think I haven't tested it yet, because you would only have to do it once, as far as I've seen. But once you have it again, you will again let it dry. I'll use my heat gun again. And now that it's again dry, I will again go in with my denatured alcohol, but instead of going over the engraving, I'll just try and clean up around the engraving. This is a little difficult depending on which design you have, but just do it as good as you can. You can always go in and add some more paint if you want. I now carefully went over the edge here just to remove the worst excess paint. So now I'll actually be using some cotton swabs to clean up the rest. So just take your denatured alcohol and apply some on the tip. And then you just go in. And this does take a little time, but it's actually pretty easy to do anyway. So I try to move as close to the edge of my engraving, and these Q-tips actually helps a little, because once you hit the engraving, you can kind of feel it in the Q-tip. So I'll just speed up the video a little and show you once I'm done. I have now taken off as much as I could, and this whole thing, even though I speeded up the video, took 2 minutes. So it's not that time consuming, but if you are making a lot of glasses, you definitely probably want to use rub and buff or something else to make it go a little faster. Now that I have it, you might see that I have these small flakes. So I will take my cloth again. I'll just add a little more of my denatured alcohol. And I'll not be rubbing, I'll just quickly run over the glass. And now that I did, I have removed most of it, and I can go around and clean up again. If I want more cleaning inside the engraving, I would definitely use my Q-tips by now. Let's see. And I'm always worried that I might take off too much of the gold, so I will not be pushing hard on top of my engraving, but I will use my fingernail to kind of scratch off the excess around it. So this is not perfect, but if I spend a little more time, you would be able to get a really great result. So it might be a little time consuming, but it's definitely possible to gold fill your glass engravings without expensive material. The metallic paint I used, I linked below in case you want to get the same thing. Also, I linked the heating tool as well as the tutorial for how to engrave the glass. I do have another little video coming up on how to color your engravings, which is far easier than this. So if you want to watch that, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, and if you want to boost my algorithms, please make a little comment. You could always just write a heart, and I hope to see you soon.